New Arc Line has finally come to early access, and since we played the demo and thought the game had a lot of potential, we thought we would check it out. In case you don't know, New Arc Line is a tactical CRPG developed by DreamMate. One of the things that sets this game apart is its steampunk setting, where magic and technology are colliding. In that regard, it feels a little bit like Arcanum. But is it any good? Bearing in mind that this is an early access game, which means it's going to be rough and unpolished, it still does quite a few things well, with a lot of potential, but it has some problems too. Baldur's Gate 3 this isn't, but then what is? So let's start with what it does well. There are a lot of skill checks, so your choices in character creation really matter here. There are skill checks in dialogue, as well as passive skill checks as you wander around the world. Those passive checks are usually observation checks, so if you are going to play the game, I'd say give yourself some pretty good observation, or you're going to be missing out. Sometimes you're not sure what you're going to be missing out on though, because the game doesn't give you a lot of feedback on what you discovered, so hopefully the developers will add that feedback in before release. But yeah, there are skill checks everywhere. Whether you're in conversation with NPCs, or you're interacting with objects around the world, there are athletics checks, there are strength checks, there are persuade checks, and the nice thing about these checks is that if your companion happens to have a higher stat than you do, you can use their stats to try to pass the check. And on a related note, the game has social skills as well as combat skills. So you'll have your persuades, charm, intimidate, deception, as well as things like athletics and strength. And that's a good thing because an RPG isn't much of an RPG unless it allows for those social skills. And these skills are put to good use in the game. In fact, most quests are going to have at least one of those kinds of social checks, and those are always fun. The game also has some reactivity to your class and your gender, at least once you get out of the prologue. I don't want to overstate this, and frankly, I'd like to see more reactivity, but for example, the game will recognize your gender by calling you either sir or madam. I haven't found any instances where dialogue changed based on your gender. You do get different dialogue options based on whether your character is a mage or a tech user, and you get these fairly frequently. Exploration is generally fun, and it usually feels worth your while to explore every nook and cranny of the area. The writing is nothing spectacular, but it's decent. I can't speak to the main story of the game as I haven't seen much of it, but it centers around the main conflict of this world, which is between magic and technology. And while that's not usually my thing, there is just enough mystery to keep me interested. And it gets bonus points for, at least so far, not pandering to the modern audience. If you're looking for that, there's always Veilguard, I suppose. As to the combat, it's turn-based and pretty straightforward. To this point, I haven't found anything particularly challenging, but I'm also fairly low level with not a lot of abilities. Personally, I'm okay with it, but if you prefer your combat more difficult, you might find this lacking. Then again, this is early access and things are bound to change. One good thing I think we can all agree on, though, is that in combat you can control your companions. All that being said, this is an early access game, and there are some areas that could use some improvement. I'm going to start with one of the things that bugs me the most, and that's the audio. Or should I say, the volume control. You cannot control the music separately from the rest of the audio, which means you can't turn it down without turning down the dialogue as well. And that's something they really need to fix. But there's also the terrible inventory management, or shall I say, lack thereof. You pick up tons of items in this game and there is no way to sort them. Another little niggle is that you'll be wandering around the world, like I said, and you'll pass an observation check, but you have no idea what exactly you observed. There's nothing that tells you, not in the world or in your journal. It would be nice to get some kind of feedback so that you could know what exactly it is you just found. And of course there are a host of bugs, little glitches, and crashes. But again, this is early access, so some of those things are to be expected, I suppose. So overall, I'm enjoying my time with the game, despite its flaws, and hopefully the devs can address some of those. Overall, our assessment from the demo pretty much stands. The game has a lot of potential, if the devs can pull it off. But let us know your thoughts in the comments, and if you like this video, why not like and subscribe for more content like this, and as always, thanks for watching.